Andrew, I think we've heard a bit of that before from the opposition in terms of the attack lines there from Anthony Albanese, but we have heard new information over the last couple of days about the timeline in here involving the Prime Minister's office, Bridget McKenzie's office, when it comes to this sports rorts saga.
Yes, that's right, Ashley. And so we raised this for the first time last week, this business of the brief instructing Sport Australia to give the grants being sent to Sport Australia by the Minister's office after the caretaker period began, after the Prime Minister had been the Governor-General and called an election, and a day after that list was sent to the Prime Minister's office. What we heard last night from the Audit Office and Senate estimates was a bit more detail around that, and the implication seemed to be that Bridget McKenzie signed off on this on April 4, then went travelling, and then the attachments she signed off on were then altered, and that was presented to Sport Australia. And I think there's some really real questions around the legality of that, considering the document she's signed has actually altered in the meantime. Of course, the suggestion also from the Audit Office that one grant was taken out, another one put in. What the Prime Minister's office told me today is that was a grant which was in another grants program. So the suggestion is that was just that wasn't influencing which organisations got grants, but it was correcting what she put forward. But there's also the suggestion from the Audit Office that it was at this point, around the time the election was called, an extra 9 grants were inserted. The government won't tell us which grants they were, but it's been put to me that Bridget McKenzie's office did this. It's not like the Prime Minister's office suggested they did this. That's what the Prime Minister will say, I believe. But it's hard to believe when there's this correspondence around April 10, 11, and Bridget McKenzie presents what she's going to put forward. There's then all this correspondence and chatter between the Minister's office and the Prime Minister's office. Suddenly 9 projects get inserted. I think people have a right to be suspicious and say, did the Prime Minister's office have an influence in terms of inserting those projects? Politically, Scott Morrison's looked to cauterise this issue and make it all about Bridget McKenzie, the opposition obviously seeking to make it all about him as well.
Yeah, we just got a taste of what we can expect in question time this afternoon from Anthony Albanese. I do want to talk to you about the other big issue dominating there today. We've just heard in the past hour from the Prime Minister on the coronavirus crisis. Scott Morrison really urging Australians to go about the business as normal, exercise caution, common sense, despite the number of coronavirus cases increasing on home soil in Australia. We saw just another confirmed case in Queensland in the past couple of hours. He was insisting in that news conference there's no need to stock up on food and other essential items. He's been in contact with the big supermarket chains, Woolworths and Coles, on that front. As the economic impact, I thought it was interesting, Andrew, to see a really strong message there to the banks when it comes to passing on the expected rate cut this afternoon from the Reserve Bank. A clear message there, essentially saying that these banks need to follow the lead of Qantas, which played that really crucial role in terms of evacuating people from Wuhan, that the banks now need to act in the national interest when it comes to the handling of coronavirus.
Yeah, he basically told us a rate cut's coming, didn't he? That's quite an unusual thing, and that's what I think the Prime Minister did. And he's telling the banks early, pass it all on. These are sort of special circumstances. He's said to have told the party room, Ashley, earlier that what is needed here is a single source of truth, not overstated, not understated, and that the government be the reliable source of information. And he made similar comments in there. So when you look at that sort of panic buying that's going on, some articles and some comments from people talking about 100,000 Australians getting this disease, I guess he's trying to address that and make sure that people listen to what the government's saying, not what commentators are saying around it. Another interesting aspect of that party room discussion that I've learned, Ashley, is that the Chief Medical Officer said, in answer to a question from Liberal Tim Wilson about is it safe to travel overseas, yes it is, but not to certain countries. He mentioned South Korea, Iran and China. He also mentioned, one MP's told me, Japan. And I think that raises real questions about whether the Olympics are going to go ahead. Some real doubts about that now, certainly.
It doesn't bode well at all, does it? Andrew Clennell, live there in Canberra. Appreciate your analysis. Thank you.